Okay, we got a super chat. Donnie Springer, thank you for your super chat. Is there any evidence the sayings or discourses were ever written in Aramaic or just paraphrased in Greek with no written sources when translated?
We don't have any evidence of anything about Jesus written in Aramaic from the beginning. We don't have evidence of it. Now, one could say Papias thinks that there was a Hebrew or Aramaic Hebrew Matthew, and the elder John thought so too. But they don't have that document, and they use that document as a hypothetical in order to explain the differences between the two Greek Matthews they had. Now, Donnie, I want to back off just a tad to say that there are lots of Aramaic equivalents in the Q document and in the synoptics. Gehenna is one. Amen is one. Sabbath is one. Let's see. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani in Mark is, and you get puns. I mentioned before, Bartimaeus means the son of the esteemed one, probably. There are other possibilities, but it certainly is Aramaic and Greek. And also Bar Abba, the name of Barabbas, is the son of the father, which is a wordplay to put him over against the Son of God, namely Jesus at his trial. So we do have a bilingual environment for these early texts. And in some cases, the puns require the reader to be bilingual too. So there is a Greek Aramaic environment for the early Jesus movement. Whether Jesus himself could speak Greek, I'm not willing to say, though many have suggested that he did. But that's a great question. I wish I had a better answer for you. I don't think we have any evidence of anything written in Aramaic about Jesus from that early period, but we certainly have Aramaic influence.
JM, thank you for your super chat and the thumbs up. Do we have any idea at all what Aristian's Diegesis, his logia, actually looked like, besides what we're briefly told about him in the writings of Papias?
No, we don't. But what we have is really very interesting. One is simply his date. His date probably is somewhere in the 1st century. So it's earlier than the Gospels of Luke and John, almost certainly, because even Papias doesn't know about them. The other is that the title of his work is Diegesis of the Logoi of the Lord. When Luke writes his preface, he mentions that many people have written Diegesis of about things that have happened in his world. And he ends by telling Theophilus that I want you to have assurance about the interpretation of the logoi you have been taught. The same word is used. So the logoi of Jesus is likely the title of the lost gospel because it's an imitation of Deuteronomy. And the beginning of Deuteronomy in Greek is, these are the logoi that Moses spoke in the wilderness, basically as a rebuke to Israel before he dies. So the other is that Eusebius says that throughout these 5 volumes of the expositions, Papias sprinkles information that he got from John the Elder, traditions from John the Elder, but from the expositions of the Logoi of the Lord by Aristion. In other words, Papias thought it was a worthwhile contribution to information about Jesus. And he puts it on the par of the Elder John. And because it's a diegesis, it likely was a written book. Now, it could be a written book about Jesus' sayings that are circulating orally. That's possible. But the correlation between the titles of these books is really quite fascinating. And the title of Papias's work is not a diegesis, it's exegesis. It's an exegesis of the Logia about the Lord, very similar in the title. And in both, diegesis also has the root ego, the agesis, the hegemai in it. So the words are very similar. So I wish we knew more about it. I certainly do. I think maybe it vanished because it was a commentary on a book that was not canonical.
When in the 1st century CE do you think Aristion most likely wrote? Do you think it's in the mid, somewhere in circa 50 or maybe circa 80 or 90 CE?
Well, there's no way to know. There's no way to know. Papias, apparently, according to Eusebius, thought that Aristion and the Elder John were still alive when he was collecting. He says they were still alive when he was collecting lore about Jesus from them. So it means that they weren't writing very early. They at least they lived until let's say the end of the 1st century. If they knew Jesus at all, they would have had to have been youngsters. But there's no way of knowing when it was written. I would say this, though. If we say that the Logoi of Jesus had to have been written shortly before the Jewish War, obviously Aristion's got to be writing after that. So my guess is it may be more or less contemporary to Mark and Matthew, but that still is conjecture.
And do you think that either Mark or Matthew knew his diegesis, or neither?
I don't think any of the synoptics knew the document. I don't see evidence for that. But if Luke knows Papias, he knows about Aristion. And that's why he can say many have tried to do this thing. And he may not have seen Aristion's text, but he knows that that was yet another attempt. And it was a diegesis. It was an exegesis.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Dennis.
Well, it's always a pleasure, Jacob. I trust this was helpful.
Oh, I thought it was. Thanks again.
Okay.
Hello, viewers. Thanks for watching this video from the History Valley YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if any of you wish to further support this channel, please consider checking out this channel's Patreon page and becoming a patron, and or donate through PayPal or through Super Chat during a live stream. Thank you.